But like the specific example that I'm like kind of really like proud of and excited about was it's a job that we have right now that's going on down in Middlesex Borough. This is for a client of ours that we had already built a building for him. It's called straight edge striping, and he took some risk and bought another property that was down in a flood hazard area. And he bought the property because, well, one of the reasons it wasn't like a huge risk factor was that another engineering firm had gotten a warehouse type development approved on his property recently, if that's what it came to. But he wanted to put his building there. And we talked to that firm a little bit. And this was right when there was some recent new changes to the flood hazard area regulations, which actually made the flood level, the regulatory flood level and what you have to like build above higher. So like they changed the rules recently. And so like now you have to be even further out of like what would be the flood, where the flood plain used to be. We talked to that engineering firm. He's like, they just changed the rules. You're never going to get something different approved here. We started like bantering around and brainstorming a little bit and talking about, and this was one of the tools that you can allow flood water to go underneath the building on a commercial building with something called flood vents that allow flood water to come in and be stored there during the flood and then go out. You're limited to what's called zero net fill. So if you define on a site where is the flood hazard area, and that gives you an existing amount of flood water that comes onto the property. And in what you propose, you can't let less than that amount of flood water be stored on the property. So in order to allow this to happen, we proposed part of the water underneath the office spaces by letting flood water come under the building, and that's going to cost the client a little more, but it makes him able to do what he wants to do on his property. And the fact that we got it through and approved, that we came up with the idea, crunched the numbers. I don't know that they weren't the DEP level of review, but like when we applied to them, they were like, how'd you get DEP to approve that? We never heard of that idea. Like when you learn a tool, just remember it and pay attention because it might come back around someday. So like we're thinking through all of it, and it really does save people money in the long run to have all that expertise looking at how we design it.